All right, Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Karakadash. The abundance of the apostles and elders of great millstone, salutation to all the brothers and a few sisters out there. Unto the Israelite foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. It's going to be a quick show to the spirit of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua. I don't want your brothers to be edified. This is Kim Ivory. She's very, very good. And what she does, she was part, for a short brief time, that, it's like an internet news called The Hill. And she had like a fallout with them because of the whole Fauci situation. And then throughout the whole, every time because of her, I subscribe to that channel, The Hill. And every time I listen to any other the news reporters, and brothers that did the same thing as well, we all could contest, like everybody else was just pretty much, there were a bunch of sellouts that didn't want to tell the truth, but she always kept it real. And before she went to The Hill, she always had her own show anyway. So she left The Hill, and she's back on her show because pretty much they wasn't trying to let her speak to Fauci, because she did her research on Fauci and all the stuff that Dr. Death himself was doing. So they decided to have them interview Fauci with softball questions, because he's the most protected individual in the world. And anybody that asks him tough questions, he's powerful. He works for the gates of hell. So going back to her. So in this particular video, she goes into the IRS hiring 87,000 more employees, which is part of Biden's plan. Which I'm just gonna play some of it. I don't know if I can play all of it, but I'm just gonna try to play some of it. And everything she's saying, she's right on point. All right, she's right on point, because basically this current administration is giving a lot of lip service, with the actions speak differently. So she was basically saying how they say one thing about when it comes to who's going to get audited and everything like that, and she broke it down perfectly, that the people that they say that is going to be targeted by this new regime of hirings. She basically said in a nutshell that all these people that is supposed to be targeted, they have perfect records. In other words, they have a team of individuals, top-notch accountants, all right, and people that know the rules and abide by the rules. So, to make a long story short, it's not those people that they say that's supposed to be going to get audited are going to get audited. It trickles right back down to the average people, which I'm going to play some of it. Hopefully I got it right on cue.
Certain rate, a certain percentage of the total audits is focused on people in that income bracket. What Mike Crapo said was, don't increase the rate. So obviously the population will increase, so the sheer number of those audits will go up as the population increases, but the rate should stay the same. You will not increase the rate of going after Americans making under $400,000. That was an amendment proposed to the legislation. It failed. Democrats, every single one of them, voted against that amendment, and every Republican voted for it. So you've now got Democrats swearing to us, promising in these press conferences and in their social media accounts, promising us that this will not be going after Americans making under 400 grand, but instead only going after wealthy Americans and corporations. Senator Mike Crapo says, put your money where your mouth is. And they said, okay, no, we don't want to promise. We don't want to really promise. We're just going to give lip service to the American people. But then when it comes down to actually promising it in writing, forget it. We don't want to do that. So it failed. Now, here's the bottom line. The reason why this money will obviously, and all of these 87,000 new agents will obviously be targeting the gig economy, middle-class America, is because wealthy Americans and corporations have teams of tax attorneys, accountants, wealth management. They do their tax evasion legally.
And that's the key to everything. See, they do it legally, meaning she mentioned what's this guy's name? Owns Facebook. But she was using him as an example. She's used as Bill Gates as another example. Bezos. All these top people that's supposed to be targeted for not paying their taxes, they have a team. They have a team of accountants. So who's really being targeted? All right? Who's really being taken advantage of? And when she broke down what she did, a hand of applause, because which we all know what's going on. We're not stupid. We go about what the scripture says. In order to make what the scripture says in Revelation 13 and 16 on down to take place, somebody got to get squeezed out. All right? And this is the way they're squeezing people out. And let her play a little bit. And
everything they do is legal. That has been proven. ProPublica actually did an entire investigation on this. If you remember, the secret IRS files trove of never-before-seen records reveal how the wealthiest avoid income tax. And what they go on to say is, taken together, it demolishes the cornerstone myth of the American tax system, that everyone pays their fair share and the richest Americans pay the most. The IRS records show that the wealthiest can, perfectly legally, pay income taxes that are only a tiny fraction of the hundreds of millions, if not billions, their fortunes grow each year. They looked through and figured out how ProPublica obtained in this investigation a vast trove of IRS data on tax returns of thousands of the nation's wealthiest people, covering more than 15 years. They looked at the financial lives of American titans, it says here in their article, including Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Rupert Murdoch, and Mark Zuckerberg. And it shows not just their income and taxes, but also their investments, stock trades, gambling winnings, and even the results of audits. And they found everything was legal. These guys are not paying their fair share, and it's because the system is rigged in their favor. That is all.
And that is a damn truth. You know, for all you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans believe in this American farce of a dream that you can make it, or you might have a couple of G's in your pocket. If you don't have a team of accountants, your ass is gonna get got. All right. Hey, one of the famous people that got, the only way they could have got him out of all the things that he did was Al Capone, and by what? By taxes. He wasn't paying his taxes. So the tax man, which being a tax man is like the worst possible thing. You got to be the worst. That's the worst scumbag in the world, because you're taking from people, and you're not taking from the rich, because the rich that hired you, they don't want you. They don't allow you to, look into their stuff. And like you were saying, they legally, the way the system is created, they are able to get out of that situation. Real quick, couple scriptures, and I'm going to get back to that because it's another key point. Matter of fact, Proverbs 22. I threw that one. And 16. He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. So, what is the scripture saying? There's a system that's being created where you assume you're making, and by the end of the year, the gross year, it tells you make X, right? But in reality, you're not making that money because different circumstances. The way the system is designed to keep you poor. It's designed to keep the poor man poor and the rich man rich. Remember, read again. It says, he that oppresseth the poor. Who oppresses the poor? The rich. All right? Because they create a system which is a net, a trap, a snare to increase their riches. So to increase his riches, okay? And he that giveth to the rich, which is what? The average person. You purchase certain things, you do certain things. All you're doing is making the richer get rich. Prime example. Since everybody loved Obama so much, what was Obama's? Well, the many famous things that he was known to done in his tenure, all right, his 2 terms. One, which is the important one, is he bailed out the banks. He literally bailed out the people which everybody says it all the time, that got this system to crash at that time, the recession. He bailed them out. Okay? And what ended up happening? You, the people, Slakia, we, the people, end up paying for it. All right? We end up paying dearly for that. So let's fast forward it to now. They gave everybody $600 2 years ago, and $1,200 for families, or maybe $1,400. Who's paying for it? Us, the people. All right. By what? In the form of inflation, which ironically, you had Fox News that was talking about that prior to the inflation. See, the news, once the news is going against the opposite force, they always expose what the next one is going to do ahead of time. And they were saying, if they keep bailing people out, giving them money, showing how rigged this thing is. So, one, if you give the bankers money, which a lot of the bonuses go to the bankers because of the fact that the bankers, supposedly what they say is the bankers, the executive of the bankers, they know what they're doing, so they get the bonuses while they lay everybody off. All right? This whole entire system is rotten to the core. Okay? So, the main people that's causing all these things are the bankers, but the system reward the bankers for doing the things that they were doing. Who suffers? The poor. Then when you give the poor money, guess what? Who suffers the most? The poor. So this whole entire thing is just a joke. All right? It's really it's a farce. All right? Because you're always gonna need something, because this system, matter of fact, I keep talking about it. Psalms 10, I think it's 5. No, let me get to the point. Psalms 10 and 2. That was the point. The wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor. All right? They do persecute the poor. Persecution don't have to be something that's sent like how it was done in Rome. And that took a while to get it done when they persecuted Jake. All right? By feeding him to the lions in the games and so forth. That was to the extreme. But before all that, they were sucking the life out of the poor. All right? They chasing what everybody has in their pocket. And it's a spirit too. Look at that. The Hebrew word for poor, persecute, is dalakwa, to burn, hotly pursue. So they're hotly pursuing people. And I'm gonna let this lady say it, which a lot of us should know by now. All right. So keep in mind, hotly pursue the poor. So let them be taken in the device that they have imagined. So this man has imagined greatly how to take down the poor. All right. Matter of fact, real quick before I go to the next, Sirach. Go to that point. 13 and I believe it's 15. 18. It says, what agreement is there between the hyena and the dog, and what peace between the rich and the poor? As the wild ass is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. The poor is made to be eaten. All right. So there's never an agreement. There's never a mutual agreement. The poor always have to do what they have to do. Now, so check. Let me see if this is.
is also because most of the people in Congress, or many I should say, are extremely wealthy individuals themselves. Nancy Pelosi, Mitt Romney, the list goes on. Ultra wealthy Americans are running our government. So, of course, they're giving us lip service by saying, we're going to hire all these new agents, but don't worry, they're going after corporations and wealthy Americans. Those ultra wealthy Americans sitting in Congress know that everything is being done legally. They know that these corporations and wealthy Americans are just using the system that was given to them. They're not cheating. They've been given an unfair hand. That is the reality of it. So if they really truly wanted to go after wealthy Americans and corporations, what they would do is change the tax law. That's what they would do. They wouldn't start going and shaking down average Americans in the gig economy. And they've already shown us their hand, right? We've already seen that this is actually about going after the gig economy. If you remember, when the IRS, when Democrats and Janet Yellen were pushing for banks to have to report transactions, bank accounts that had more than $600 in annual transactions. So if you have a bank account sitting there and it gets more than $600 going through it throughout the entire year, then that needed to be reported to the IRS. $600, that is not targeting billionaires and multi-mega millionaires and corporations. That's targeting the Uber driver or the person who's going around on the side, got a side hustle doing a variety of services for Americans. That is who that targets. So they've already shown.
And they have shown that clearly, because that's impossible to have a bank account. It's impossible to not to have a bank account. All right. And this is in this current condition that is now is impossible to not to have in a bank account, because everything is dealt with. Everything is digital. So just that alone was the red flag when they said, starting this year that anybody that has 600 had to report that. And what she said is absolutely true. Who are they targeting? People that are independent, that can make money without actually reporting how much money they're making. You see? So this goddamn devil is a piece of shit. He don't want everybody to make it. He don't care. He's trying to eat up the very poor of the nation. Now, this is what I also wanted to bring out from the book of Satan Angels Exposed, and the headline, page 187, is Into the Day of Monetary Holocaust. So I did this before, but I'm gonna just stick to what it said, the points. It says Howard J. Ruff, an economic analyst, sees in the near future exploding inflation. That didn't take place. I believe this book came out maybe at the 1980s. My brother had the book on Elder Sabar, so I took pictures of it. So exploding inflation didn't come. There were some inflation in the 1980s, which I was a child, I didn't know, but it wasn't to that effect of how it is now. Then you have the term price controls, which the government oversees a particular item, and who suffers? The ones that's selling it, because they have to purchase it from somebody else, but they're gonna have to pay. People gonna have to pay the same price for less value, right? It says erosion of your savings eventually to nothing, and that's the key. That's where the point we at right now. Okay, we are in a point of everybody's savings being erased. Showing this man's a devil, man. So everything that was given to you, you have to pay back and then some. And the things that you do own, or you do on your own, because a lot of people suffered from 2020, and now we're seeing the other part of this thing is playing out. If you had any money to be saved, it's too goddamn high. That's why everybody's continuously paying rent. Landlords was losing money because people wasn't paying rent. That's considered a small business. Then you have Other than the rent thing, you had all these other businesses that was shut down, but yet you still had to pay gas, you still had to pay electricity. Some places you had to pay water. They never stopped. Credit cards were still asking for their money. That never stopped. All right. In other words, the bankers are going to continuously ask for what they want from the people and expect the same result. So the big banks, all right, tell the small banks, give us our money, and the small banks telling the smaller banks, all right, the ones that we're familiar with, TD Bank, Bank of America is pretty big. Chase is kind of big, but you know, we have the unknown banks where people put their stuff in, and they was still demanding the same money that they was getting from those loans. They didn't care if you lost your job, or it's hard for you to recover, or you got sick, or somebody that got killed or died. They don't care. They want their money. Why they did that? Because the erosion of your savings. All right, the erosion of your savings. So this is spot on. According to this book, this is spot on. It says, and the next one goes with this what right now as well. It says the collapsing of private as well as government pension programs. So those who had their guaranteed job is not so guaranteed no more. So yeah, this whole thing, this whole farce of a system is being shown, and that's why I'm going straight to the point, straight to scripture, and then I'm gonna end it off on this. That's what the scripture says. This it says James. Well, I should have got Hagar. In fact, let me get that. Hagar 1:5. It says, "Now therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much and bring in little. You eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You are clothed, you, but there's none to warm. And he that earneth wages to put into a bag with holes." So starting from Israel, we all know that system. You get paid a paycheck, and that paycheck is already spent. All right. If you get paid every week some expenses. Let alone whatever city you're in, taxing the hell out of you, targeting you. All right. You purchasing food. If you're driving a vehicle, the gas prices are goddamn high. This system is designed to suck the life out of people because of these fucking bastards. They're sitting down, eating up everything. It says James 5:1. "Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you." How is the rich man going to be howling? He's going to lose everything. He must lose everything. All right. Scriptures also tells you, which is another favorite, that rich man wealth is a city. So all these cities around the world, this is how the rich got rich and stay rich. And we're not talking about your up and coming rich man. We're talking about the elites who has wealth. All right, who has old money. This is what this James is talking about. All right, from the Rothschilds on down, who owns trillions of dollars. All right, they estimated many years ago that the Rothschild family itself, not the other major families, just the Rothschilds, is $500 trillion. They have enough money to ensure nobody on earth starve, but yet they still prosper. It says, verse 2, "Your riches are corrupted," because what? Their riches are corrupted. Okay? They got it by corrupt means. They set up a system, and the system was designed to suck the life out of the poor. Now they turn over the system, saying, "Oh, see, the system was never good. It was bad and it was unequal. So now they plan to destroy that old system that was there, which was technically wasn't their idea, but That's another thing. But then now they plan to destroy the system and introduce the world to another system. Where now they have complete control of what you do, how much money you see, and all these things. All right. It says, "And your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you." So the witnesses of all that, the riches that they have, is a witness against them. All right. Figuratively and literally, is a witness against you. You have the riches and the means to prevent or to eliminate certain things, but you won't do it. These damn Edomites are hoarding everything. All right, that's why he's not satisfied. It says, "And you shall eat your flesh as it were a fire," because the end results of all these ill-gotten gains is going to be that ultimate judgment, that fire. Yeah, you have to heap up treasures together for the last days. All right. So all this is what even though that the dollar is backed up by nothing, even though it's backed up by anything, they still sucking the life out of you. Within that time, that short time period, you had millionaires that became billionaires, and it's not gonna stop. All right. Many of the small businesses was wiped out. Now they're going after the people that's with the online gig, who's making ends meet just to get by, to pay off their stuff. Now they want to come after everybody else's stuff. It says, "Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields," which is who? The average worker. All right. "Which is of you kept back by fraud." So what's fraud? Fraud is, as a matter of fact, let's look it up. Fraud, to defraud, rob, spoil. So you robbed and spoiled the people when they get their paycheck. All right. You robbed and spoiled a person by earning their wages. According to the scriptures, you're supposed to pay a man for that day. They don't do that. Either weekly, bi-weekly, even some places monthly. And by the time you get the check, they take everything has been taken from them. So that's fraud, man. That's fraud. And he created a system was designed that you keep the rich richer, and you have to keep sucking the life out of the poor. And it's not talking about just the regular poor. That so-called middle class is being destroyed. It says, "Cry and the cries of them which have reaped are into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth," which is what the Lord of armies, which is Yahushua. So all the unrighteous dealings that's being done, Yahushua has heard. And this is why Yahushua is prepping his men, because this system is going to collapse for good. So with that, was something real quick to the spirit. Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom.